This is the Stop Time Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hopkins, and I'm here to engage you in thought-provoking, motivational conversations around practicing the art of living in the moment. I'm a certified life coach, and I'm excited to dig deep and offer insights into embracing who we are and where we are at. So my next guest is currently starring as George Washington in the Broadway company of Hamilton. He has appeared in the Broadway national tours of Love Never Dies, the sequel to Broadway's The Phantom of the Opera, the Gershwins' Porgy and Bess, and Broadway's celebration of Harlem's golden age after midnight, and was seen as the Crabman at the Spoleto Festival's production of Porgy and Bess, and as featured singer in the PBS broadcast of Showboat at Lincoln Center. He's a proud first-generation American born of Jamaican and British parents, and a versatile artist whose musical passions mirror his eclectic background. As a writer, arranger, classical pianist, and singer, he combines much of his inspiration from classical music, reggae, hip-hop, R&B, blues, and jazz. His passion for performance and teaching is matched by his passion for social and racial justice. He's an original member of the Hamilton Racial Justice Task Force, now called Ham for Progress. Through his work on the task force, he has helped to organize company-wide efforts to raise census awareness, increase national voter registration, and put action to the importance of investing in communities of color. He holds a Master of Music from the Eastman School of Music and 2 bachelor degrees from SUNY Oswego, a BA in music with a focus in vocal and piano performance, and a BA in computer information systems from SUNY Oswego as well. I am so looking forward to getting to know Tamar Greene. Welcome, Tamar.
Hello, Lisa. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I could see you responding to hearing me read that back, right?
Yeah, I was like listening. I was like actually listening to things. I was like, oh, yeah, those are things. Those are things that happen. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's nice just to sit here and honor you for taking the ride. I mean, we could talk about your credits and yada, yada, but at this point, here you are, the human behind the headlines, sitting with me, taking a time to, remember that you're real and I see you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Like, it is sometimes rare to have this moment of like just being real, and not having to be anything else. But
correct. Yeah. P.S. If you've done it, it ain't bragging. So, and you did it. So I do honor you. I mean, I honor you for that. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate
that. So there was one thing in your bio that, one thing is not like the other. I'm so curious. You know what I'm talking about. So how's that computer information systems thing serving you these days?
It serves me, actually. It does serve me. I've learned a lot about, I've always grew up loving technology and wanted to learn more about it. And I grew up first a musician and with a family of musicians and appreciators of music, but I always had the tech mind. And so when I was going to choose a college a degree, I kind of just decided to not do the music thing because I didn't know what it meant to have a career in music. I was like, I'm gonna do something else. And so I recognized that, the tech passion of mine and chose a degree. Basically, I literally went to the advisor and was like, I know computer something. And then she opened the book and like, there was a ton of computer things. And I literally just picked one. I had no idea. Wow. But it served me well. I learned a lot. I've coded. I've done database management. Actually, after I graduated from Oswego, I actually got a job as a tech support manager for a little bit before I went to my master's program. So, I got some of that exposure, and now it helps me with audio engineering and things like that because I understand that world, or working with the crew at a show or something like that, and understanding what they need when they tell me to take care of my mics.
Your well is so deep. Where does that come from? Where does this? I get the sense from you. I don't know you, but I did some research, obviously, and I'm getting the sense that your well runs so deep of what you're interested in, where you could go. Talk to me. Where does
Yeah.
that come from?
That's a good question. I think that comes from, I think that honestly comes from being a first generation American. I
Hmm.
think I've bonded often, and I love to bond with other first generation Americans, no matter where they come from, because we have similar stories of our parents being from somewhere, solidly from there, and they're immigrants here. We carry that culture here, but we also recognize that we are raised in a different culture. And so we play this game of trying to figure out all the things and understand all things while trying to be our parents, like whatever country, and also be also American enough in a way, And so it's like it's this weird dichotomy of really loving where my history is and my ancestral history, but also wanting to establish myself here and be that goal that the dream that our parents wanted, So I think I really feel like that is probably where that comes from, of me wanting to devour the world and devour information.
That's the right word. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a hunger, right? It's like a,
Yeah, it really is. I even when I did the opera stuff, I'm like, I love languages and I want to
mm,
learn everything I can about these languages. And so I studied a lot of these different languages, and I'm interested in that. And when I find something new and technology wise, I like to learn that. Even when I first learned how to drive, I was like, I don't want to drive. I don't know how to drive stick shift. So I bought a stick shift and like drove to New York
of course you
City.
did.
like, I was like, what kind of fool just buys a stick shift and don't know how to drive it? Because I wanted to learn it. I wanted to know its secrets, and that's kind of what drives me.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
very
Yeah.
unique because someone else might be telling me from a similar background, might be telling me something completely different. Like they might be saying to
Mhm.
me, no, I'm first generation and I'm honoring my parents brought me here. They went through a lot of stuff and, it's difficult because, I mean, your perspective is so wide open. It's so, I feel like you understand the privilege of coming, and that does honor your parents, right? But you
Mhm.
don't,
Mhm.
but you also don't, I can't put my finger on it. You're tremendously talented, right? But it seems like you're good at everything you do. Is that true? Is that fair to say?
That's a tough question to ask me. I don't know. I I
Well,
do the
put
best I
put
can.
hubris aside. Seriously, put hubris
Yeah.
aside. And do
Yeah.
you feel like and I truly mean this as an interested person. Like, do
Yeah.
you when you approach stick shift, when you bought the car, was the voice in your head saying, "Well, I don't know how to do it, but I can figure it out," or was it saying, "I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna learn how to do this thing because I don't know how to do it." Well, like, what? Where do you come from?
Yeah. I think those two sentences actually
Mm,
coexist. Yeah, I think when I find something I don't know how to do, I definitely am like, I'm gonna figure it out. Like I talk a lot about how I grew up very shy, incredibly crippling shy.
mm,
And it took me a while to get there, but where I am now, obviously, is like no one would ever imagine that I was a super shy kid. But the way I'm on stage and do this the acting in this career, but like I was, and the way I talk about it with kids, I'm like, I actually use it, right? They talk about fight or flight,
yeah.
and I truly do. I like that fight, right? Like I'm
Hmm.
scared. It scares the hell out of me. So I'm gonna do it. Like
Mm,
I remember my debut of Hamilton, and I was like frightened. I was like,
mm,
everyone knows this massive musical, right? Everyone knows it. Everyone knows all the words.
yeah.
I'm really good at messing up words, and so I was like, after doing all of my weeks and weeks of rehearsal and stuff like that, I did the hard work, and then I remember standing stage left, about to walk onto my first lines, and like my brain started freaking out, and I forgot all my words, and I was like, no, 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 breathe and just take that step. You got this. You got
Yeah.
this, right? So I love to conquer that stage fright. I always would, even when I do my solo concerts and stuff like that, I'm like, it scares me to stand on stage and do a solo concert and talk about
Mm,
myself. I'm like, what if they hate myself? What if they don't like me? And I'm like, just do it. Just do it and conquer it, because then you're that much better.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it is, yeah. So with driving, yeah, the stick shift, I get it. And I'm like, I can figure it out. I know I can. I know I'm smart enough to figure it out. I know I can figure out pretty much anything. Like
Yeah.
that's what I feel when I go into it. And if I fail, then all right, whatever. But I'm going to. I think I'm pretty. Yeah, I think you're right. I think I'm pretty good at a lot of things, and I'm
Yeah, you
sure
are.
I can do it.
What is there something now that's kind of your next conquest? Is there something else that's really exciting to you that you haven't tried or that you can't do or you think haven't done?
Let me see. I think my I guess my next it's like this looming project is my album. Like,
Mm.
that has been a looming project of mine that I actually haven't been able to conquer quite yet. Not giving up on it yet, obviously, but I make little steps here and there, and I'm working on it with friends and doing different arrangements and things like that. But I can't quite yet figure out how exactly I want to release this project to the world or do what to put on that project. But that is my looming thing that I'm like, I need to conquer this, and I'm excited about it. It also stresses me out.
For sure. What do you do when you're stressed out about something like that? Do you put it off or what do you go harder or what do you do?
I yeah, I do sometimes. To be honest, I do put it off. I do. I'm sometimes as good as I try to be, and better as I try to be with managing stress. I sometimes am. I used to joke that I am the one. I do cry over spilled milk
Ah,
sometimes. Like if I was to literally drop a gallon of milk in my kitchen, I would be really annoyed and walk away. I'd come back, but I definitely would be really angry and like, it's everywhere. I gotta, and it's gonna, it's under the stove. Oh my gosh.
I love that. But you probably need that every now and then, right? You should go break some bottles of milk.
Maybe I should to conquer that, right? Just spill some milk on.
No, that's a great catch, right? Of noticing what you do. Hey, so
Yeah.
I'm guessing life is pretty busy for you right about now with what, 8 shows a week being George and then 24/7 being dad.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a wild time. My son is now will be 11 months in 2 days, almost a year, and it's been a wild year. I've been really trying to talk about conquering challenges. I've been really trying to show up 8 shows a week because I'm passionate about what I do. I love to do what I do. And this baby's been a nice little challenge of
Mm,
what can I do on no sleep? what, how does my brain still work? Does it still work? Can I do even the other thing? I mean, because I do so many other things sometimes outside of the shows.
yeah.
So it's been an interesting year with this beautiful little human who has us exhausted, my wife and I, all the time. So it is a beautiful thing though. It really is a beautiful thing. And I feel like, when you're driving and you make a different turn and it says recalculating. I
Mhm.
feel like my spirit is constantly recalculating. Like my brain is recalculating
That's interesting.
daily. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I can feel the change. Like I'm growing with my child. You
Yes.
know, it's a bizarre thing. It's a
Yeah.
bizarre thing yeah, to go through. But
It's so real. The thing about a child is that you can't like conquer it. Like, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
You can't get like you got to go with the flow. And it's true. I love that there's like this conscious recalibration that you're having of like something shifting. Does that scare you at all? Like, does it make you like what comes up for you when you feel that?
it does scare me a bit. It does scare me a bit.
Mm.
I mean, me and my wife, but especially before he was here, we would kind of get into the cycle of what we're going to do to raise him right. What music should we play while he's in utero? Like all
Mm.
the, what would make him the smartest? How do we teach an infant math and want him to be a savant and do, all this stuff. We get into the weeds, even like food, right? We're like in this country where there's so many toxins in foods and things. And we're
Yeah.
like, what can't we feed him? No, we shouldn't have that. No, don't do this. No, we can't warm it up, bottle up in the microwave. No, don't do that. Okay, we're going to do this. And it gets overwhelming It really does get overwhelming, and like we often have to check in with each other and just like breathe and just chill for a minute. I'm like, we are humans of the world, right?
Yep.
We didn't have knowledge of, our parents didn't have knowledge of a lot of these things. Not that we can't try to do better, right? But with that knowledge, we know that we're not going to ruin this child
Nope.
because we're okay. Let's go to the foundation that we're okay, and we'll try to do better with certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard to check back in on. It takes a little while of spiraling to come back and be like, okay, I'm getting a little off.
It's normal and it's par for the course, but you're absolutely right. They are the most resilient. They're going to save themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why they get what they want. They get what they need. I mean, they're survival machines. Talk about fight or flight, right? I mean, they are fighting for survival. They don't have the conscious brain that we've developed yet that tells us this is good, this is bad. It's just like, no, I want food. I need to sleep. And
I'm going to scream until I get it. Yeah,
I'm going to scream until I get it. And, too bad about you.
Right. I'm selfish, unapologetically. I don't even know what selfish means.
Exactly. I came across something that you said about, well, I think when you were researching George Washington, and it stood out. You said that we only know him for his wins, but he's only there because of his failures, which is a great catch, right? And that goes for a lot of well-known folks. And I just kind of want to ask you, like, what gifts have you received from your failures? What learnings?
Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Let me think a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
I'd say I've had. Okay, I'll answer first with the first thing in my mind, and I'll think of maybe earlier things. But I think like, let's say like I'm doing the show and I'm like not having a great vocal week, and that obviously happens for humans. And let's say you're doing a big number, history or whatever, and like I've had, I don't have to speak in this way. I have had moments where I have not had great vocal weeks, and I have done these big numbers like history where you're singing kind of the first big notes, and then I had like a big crack, right? And that's one way I'll say, like, that's a minor, these are minor things, but that's one way that I learn. Actually, I used to be, especially with the opera background, I used to be just, you're frightened of cracking, for a tenor, as I was, at least it was like, they live for the high note at the end. That is what it is about. That is what makes you famous. It has to be pristine. And so I felt like in college, they really groom you to be like in fear of ever messing up.
Mm.
That's not reality. It's truly not reality. So when it happens, and I've worked with a lot of different people who, if they were to have a crack mid show, they would call out second act, and go home and then rest for several days and vocal rest, scarf on their neck, and then I'll see you next week, and I, for better or worse, I don't know. The way I approach it now and is I again strive to be better and like learn around it, because I know I'm a person that have allergies. I'm allergic to a lot of different, cats, dogs, trees, pollen, sawdust. Like, I'm allergic to the world in many ways. So like, I'm always going to be under in some way. I'm always going to be facing something, extra mucus going on. It's always going to be something. So it's not feasible for me to just call it, so I have to figure it out. So if I crack in the middle of a thing and I'm embarrassed, one thing I learned is to forgive myself quickly and hard, right? Like, and move on.
Yeah.
And then, and figure it out. If I did that in act one, I'm like, okay, recalibrating. I have to approach in act two. I have to, maybe do some warm-ups, maybe get some tea, check in on what I can do. Don't push so much in the beginning of this so that I can have a little bit more gas for the end. I'm constantly doing those calculations in my mind. So that's one thing I learned from like making mistakes like on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said there were other, are there others?
Yeah, no, I forgot I said, yeah.
You're like, damn it, Lisa.
I
I
was like,
actually really listen, you know?
no, you do. You're really good. You're really good. Let me see. Yeah, I think I've had even like financial mishaps, right? Like things that I've
Hmm.
tried to do that I entrusted folks to take care of, and they proved that they weren't able to do that, and I and I lost a lot, right? I lost like a decent amount of money, and I learned from that, but I also learned from even like family members like watching. I'm one of 10. I have a lot of
Oh,
siblings.
wow. Hmm.
My mom was one of 9, so I have a lot of like case studies in my family to be able to watch and see. And so if I'm like, okay, I see
It's,
how this person
yeah.
managed money. Like you
Well,
learn.
it's
I learned
interesting. I
that
mean,
way.
if I can interrupt you,
Yeah,
because you
please.
don't have to tell me all the details. What I find really interesting is that I think what you're talking about, but maybe you can clarify,
Mm-hmm.
is that you trusted that
Mm-hmm.
someone would show up in a certain way, or that they could do something, or that they would do something. Is that what you're talking about? That you learned that sometimes the blind trust is not.
Yeah, I think the blind trust is not. It's not. Yeah, it's not. So what it in a way, I'd say like it has taught me how to truly be a little bit more self-sufficient, to like do a little bit more of my own research,
Mm,
um and be more involved in all of my handlings, right? Like even with
mhm,
my whatever what I do now, it's like I'm even if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to learn how
mm,
to a little bit of accounting, and then I'm going to let my accountant do their thing. But I'm going to
mm.
know what you're doing, like I'm
Yep.
going to figure that out,
Yep.
with my concert work and stuff. Like I was my own manager for pretty much everything, and I just now got a manager,
Ah,
but now I know how to do all of the things, and I'm only passing it off because I'm too busy. But I know
yeah.
everything that you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yes, I
So
do.
so that is, yeah. So like being aware, I'm no longer just like blindly like trusting folks to do certain things. I'm involved in everything, and I know how to do enough of everything to know when it's right, and more
Hmm.
importantly, to know when it's wrong.
That's pretty cool. So how does control show up? That sounds like to me like control in a good way. You're
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
control, you want to take control, and you do it through
Yeah.
education, you do it through picking the right people, and that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Why is that important to you? Like, why have you found that you need to do that?
I think it is because if I if I'm involved in it, if I'm because I know that I know I have sense, right? I know I have sense that I'm a smart man, and and I think it's important to have. I think it's important. I think it's important for you to be involved and to make those decisions. I just have seen a lot of people not involved in their matters, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and just have some major failures. And I'm like, if you only had a little bit more education on that, like I feel like you could have
Mm,
really been successful at
love
said
that.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just think it's really important to maintain that level of control in your life, and to make sure you are the one in charge of your own life, right? Your
Yeah.
own decisions.
Yeah.
Um,
I would venture to say it's really responsibility more than control. It's not that you're a
yeah.
controlling person, but
Right. 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 Right.
because
Yeah.
I'm not hearing you say, I blame you for that. And because you screwed up, I have to
Yeah.
do it now. You're not saying that. You're going, ah, that didn't work. I trusted it would work. What can I learn from this?
Yeah.
I can learn how to do it. I love that.
Yeah.
Right. To me, it feels
Yeah.
more,
Absolutely.
yeah. More,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Not like a controlling kind of mindset. It's just like, okay, I learned.
yep.
Um, let me be better at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, that makes sense.
That's a
That's very
that's a
cool.
that's a
How do you
good point.
define success? Everyone defines it differently. And maybe it'll change. I'm sure it will change. But in this moment,
Yeah.
what does success look like for you?
Success. Yeah, you're right. It does change. It tweaks a little bit over
Hmm.
time. I'd say, but I think the foundation of my definition has always been doing what you love and being able to sustain your life through
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
So I used to think it was success is being rich or winning all the awards or whatever, doing that kind of thing and having a certain level of recognition. But like it truly is as I'm getting older, I'm like, oh, success will be like, having being able to very comfortably pay your mortgage on time
Yeah.
and also go on vacations because I love vacations, go on a trip,
Mm,
um,
yeah.
see something you like and be able to purchase it, like, and just live with peace in your life.
Yeah.
That would be that would be my current definition of success.
I love it. Hey, if we were meeting a year from now after this conversation and you're not allergic to champagne, are you?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, perfect. Good. We can still be friends. No. So if we were
Yeah.
meeting a year from now over a bottle of champagne and you were saying, Lisa, this has been the most amazing year, what will we be celebrating?
Hmm. Well, um, we will be celebrating um professionally. We're celebrating uh, a new role, like the ability to creating a new role um from conception, like something that's
Mm.
in workshops. It's exciting to be able to pour yourself into a work and the origin of a work, and do that work and do that research even on the character and all that. Like that's very exciting. So in a year's time, yeah, let's toast. We'll toast to that.
Love
We'll
it.
toast to that. I think there's other things, right? We just we're in the process of buying a home, so I can toast to that now, I guess. But
Nice. Congrats.
um, thanks. Yeah, so we're looking forward to like having a bit of that peace and that joy and having more space for us and the baby. I'm toast to that too.
Yeah. Very cool. It's interesting to think
Yeah.
about it, right? We often go for these things, and we know, like you knew you've got some things in your mind about what you'd like to do.
Yeah.
And working with my clients, I'm always saying, the words you use are so important.
Yeah.
And when I asked you the question as a future sort of thing, um, I love that you said we will be celebrating. You didn't say we would be. There was no if there. You're like, we will be. I just point that out, and that's the way you roll. Like, if
Oh,
that's what you
yeah.
want, that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to do. Clearly.
That's so funny. I didn't pick up on that with myself. So yeah, down right. That's what we will be
Absolutely.
saying. Gotta be
I
it to do
I
it,
love
baby.
it. So, would you say, are you ambitious or are you open? Are you both? Is it some kind of beautiful alchemy of those two things?
um, yeah, you're really good. I like these guys. It's so good. Like to just to talk with you. It's like these are such good questions. I'm like, man, all right, let me dive in. It'll take me a second to like really
Yeah.
answer these questions, and I love that. I would say that I'm definitely ambitious. I have so much I want to do in the world, you know, but I'm not rigid in those things. So I also am open, to my plans being changed. So like I'm a pianist first,
Mm.
actually. I
Hmm.
played classical piano and I studied that as a kid and did competitions, and that's pretty much what I thought I was going to be. I wanted to be a concert pianist at
Mm.
one point. And as I went to school for it, I practiced a lot, right? I practiced for hours. You're in a room by yourself and your piano, and you're practicing a ton and trying to memorize so much of these sonatas and this music. I was passionate at that time about being successful in that realm. But then I started feeling a shift in the world, and I was feeling like, is it actually the piano that I want to do? And I went to Eastman, and I started seeing these incredible pianists. Like I thought I was good, I was pretty decent, but I seen these other people who were like really truly incredible, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work. You know what? Let me try a little something else. I'm gonna shift a little bit. People keep telling me about this voice thing. I'm gonna try that out. you know, and so I've been kind of like shifting that way. Like I know at the foundation, I wanted to share my interpretation of music with the world in some way, my passion for it in some way. But I've always been open to how the world will shift me and change me. And even when I went to get my master's in opera, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I love this. Like I said earlier, I love devouring languages. And then I started really truly discovering what musical theater meant to me and what the capabilities of it in the world and the the acting and things like that. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll learn this actual thing and try to see if that's it, because it didn't quite feel right out yet in
Mm.
opera, even though I still love doing it. It wasn't quite right, so I shifted a bit. But I always had the still though that ambition of success in this thing. I want to be the best I can be in this craft where I'm using my body or my fingers, right, for uh, interpreting text or interpreting music or sharing with the world. Yeah. So yeah, I do like to, I'm always seeking something new, something fresh. I'm always seeking that next thing as well. But I'm not bouncing around, right? I've been in Hamilton for like 6 years. So like I still, I love what I do, but I am always seeking other things and have that ambition to like, I want to be seen too. I want other people I want to share this, right? I want to be
Yeah.
seen, but at the same time, I want to share this gift, right? I do believe it is a gift that is meant to be shared,
Yeah.
and I want to do it with greater and greater audiences and connect more with more artists and be more and more creative.
Mm.
um yeah.
Yeah. How does boredom show up for you, if at all? I'm curious.
How does boredom show up for me? I'm not I feel like sometimes I do have two separate brains, like I do. I do feel like I love to, I am a introvert, I think, foundationally, with extrovert tendencies. So, I love to go out and mingle with friends, have good conversations. I'm also very happy to like sit on my couch and devour the next TV show and just like and be right. So I'm never really like bored, because I do enjoy time with myself. You know.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, it's a great segue because it sounds like you really just live in the moment. So when you're doing something, you're
Mm,
not thinking about, oh, what am I going to do next? It doesn't mean that you don't swirl around like you've shared with me about you kind
mm,
of know that there's something, there's more. But I think
mm,
you've created a pattern in your life where that's the way, that's how it happens. It sounds like there's some trust around that. So you maybe don't know what
mm,
it is. You're not necessarily hungrily looking for it. You're not in Hamilton going, God, like, when am
mm,
I going to enter? You go to Hamilton and you do your thing. So you're living in the moment, clearly, right? You're
yeah,
focused on the
yeah,
moment, which is, that's definitely, I'm all about it, right? I mean, that's what
yeah.
this is called. And so I don't even need to ask you what your definition of living in the moment is, but I am, I mean, you can give it to me if you want, but
Yeah.
I feel like you're your own catalyst. Has there been anything else that's ever been a catalyst for you? But I get the sense that you catalyze everything. You make stuff happen, you go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I am my own catalyst. You're right.
Mm,
I certainly am. But I do that by taking in the world, right? And taking in advice from other people. Like I'd say, even with going to do like the Broadway musical theater, I should say, I I wouldn't have, I don't think, if it wasn't for like this teacher in school.
mm, mm-hmm.
Miss Watson just was like, "Hey, you might want to look at the Motown. They're doing the thing. I saw you're doing this thing. Do you want to do that thing?" I'm like, hmm, yeah, okay, yeah. Let me figure out what that means. Thank you for that. Um,
Yeah.
or like uh my wife, right? We met on tour, and she had been in the business for a few years more than I had, in the musical theater business, and so she showed me a lot of the Broadway world and what that meant, and inspired me to do other things, or even like getting some of the business stuff together, resume
Mm,
stuff or whatever it is. She really
mm,
helped me with those things. I had it was a friend actually of mine, specifically even in Hamilton. She said like, "Oh yeah, I think you'd make a good George Washington. And I was like, I don't see it. You know, but she did, and it was in the back of my mind. And I was like, okay, let me see what's going on. So
Yeah.
I do, in that kind of open-minded stuff we were talking about before,
Mm-hmm.
go with the
Mm-hmm.
flow kind of vibe a little bit. It is it's a little both. I'm like, okay, I didn't think of that thing. I'm gonna take that in. I'm gonna take it to my own mental like board. And we're gonna
Yeah.
have a board meeting with myself, and
Literally.
then I'm gonna yes,
Love it.
then I'm gonna choose like, all right, this is what we're doing. Let's
Yeah.
try it out.
Yeah. Why did you come on the podcast? Because you don't know me.
You know, I don't know you, but I looked at your work and I saw you speaking with friends of mine, and I was like, yeah, this looks like a trusted human I can have a conversation with, and it's nice to slow down sometimes. It's nice to just like take a pause, because in my life there is no. Sometimes it's just go go go. Me and my
Oh
wife
yeah.
both. We were literally talking about it last night. It's just go go go. So like it is nice to just like sit down for a minute and
Yeah.
have a conversation with somebody with a decent human, and you seemed like a decent human.
That's cool. What would you say? What would you say is your Achilles heel?
I I would say as much as I was talking about conquering these things, I would say that one way it manifests itself, I'm looking for the other thing, but one way it manifests itself is my like the stage fright thing we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes that is it is a thing that I want to conquer, and I do conquer in many different ways, but it is always a thing,
Mm-hmm.
that just like is kind of that like weakness that shows up in many forms that might sway my decisions,
Mm.
um, or choices with things I might do or whatever. Like, it is still a factor. So even if I'm like, hey, I chose to do this particular thing, but maybe I didn't do these two things because I let that voice speak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. Or even if it's I think another way that that thing manifests itself is even in social ways as
Mm.
well. I think I spend my life figuring out what that thing is. People thinking that that I am quiet, right? Which I am, but I've been trying to analyze that in myself, and I'm like, actually, no, I just am particular sometimes with who I open up with and who I talk
Mm-hmm.
to. But I envy folks who can just be completely themselves in every environment, and I'm not that. If I walk into a room, I'm like, I should be networking, or should be talking to whatever, mingling, whatever. I feel like this anxiety a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times in those moments, and I'm like, I think I should peace out. I think I'm gonna peace out. And so that's the kind of those. It's similar to that. What fuels the stage fright? Not exactly the same, but it is a similar foundation in those two things that like it scares me. So it makes
Yeah.
more work for me to have to conquer. I have to, and I like to conquer, but it is this looming
Yeah.
thing.
I'd love to respond to that if it's okay with you.
Absolutely, please. Yeah.
So on the first point about the stage fright, which is super common, I, I would
Yeah.
I would almost I would almost want to pose the question to you of, is it possible that the fear that if you didn't have it, it shows up because it works. It shows up because you go on and you conquer. It's never actually, you've never died, right? You've never, if you want to do fight or
Right.
flight, you've never gone on stage, even with that voice. I mean, you've gone against that voice and said, no, I'm not. And you haven't died. But it's really interesting because you've had a lot of success. And often these old voices that are in our head, I call them gremlins, we need to check in with them, not try to get rid of them. See, we
Right.
spend a lot of energy trying to get rid of them. I don't want to hear it. I want to fight them. I want to gun, but rather repurpose them. If you think of them as energy, our energy, and that
Mm-hmm.
they were there once to protect us. So probably if we were working together, we'd probably figure out when it showed up. But it might have been when you were 10 years old and you were going on stage and they said, you better not forget your lines, you're going to embarrass yourself or whatever. So you studied really, really, really hard. And it was true that, it saved you from embarrassment. So what we can do is we can sort of invite it in now and say, listen, I know, thank you. And I honor you for helping me. This voice really helped me when I was younger and when I was less experienced. But like, I'm Broadway guy now. Like I've done this for 6 years. I'm going to be fine. But, rather than just firing you, I'm going to recast you in your role in my head. And how I could really use you is, if you could say this and then you rescript it. You've heard of rescripting. It's you just give it something else to say.
Right.
And it will stand down in the old message. It's just old data. And it has worked, and it's there. It's actually your ally. It's actually trying to help you, but it just doesn't have the updated info. This is where your other degree will come in handy.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you speak my language, girl. Yes.
You need a reboot. You don't need to get rid of it. You don't need to go, why do I have that? You don't need to spend any energy sort of contemplating it, but rather invite it in and know what it is. So what do you think about that?
I wholly agree with that. That really resonated with me because I do, without putting such great words to it. It is what I try to do. I try to tell, even though what I try to tell people to do, and what I try to tell people to do things that I'm trying to convince myself to do.
Yeah.
But it is that like, it did show up in that way when I was young, and it was like something I was really embarrassed about. Like, like it showed up even when I first started auditioning in the city, and I thought I was great, and then I show up in a room and realize I'm in a whole different level of ball game, and I wasn't prepared. I thought I was, and I definitely wasn't, and I really embarrassed myself. And then like a casting director or director, whatever, made a comment like, next time, be off book maybe, or whatever, like whatever it was. And I was like, walk out with my tail, but so that has motivated me to really, really do the work for something I'm passionate about. Really, know the song, know the sides. Even if you're not quite, you want to try to be off book, but if you're not quite, at least know what you're talking about and glance down, come back up and say your lines. Like those guys. It has sharpened me.
Yep.
That little
That's what I'm saying. It's helped you.
Yeah. You're right.
So there could be a fear there that if I get rid of it, I might then not. Do you see the connection?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's so good. It's a little bit different, but I tell folks too about like if you're in a work, right? You're doing the work, you're doing the thing. The moment that you like actually get bored is when you mess up, right? And when you screw up, and because your brain is not in it.
Yep.
So that voice has helped me stay in it, stay engaged, be a better actor, because I know if I start thinking about what I want for lunch, I'm going to fail, and I'm going to embarrass myself, and I'm going to start sweating, and my blood pressure is going to go up, all of that. So it's very similar. I like that.
And you clearly believe that without it, that you'd be off your game. I would say to you, I would challenge you and say now, Tamar, in this moment, that it's actually more likely to distract you, because when we are focusing on potential dangers in that lower energy that you talked about, the fight or flight, I call it catabolic energy, then what catabolic energy is draws us towards what's painful or stressful or whatever. So your goal then when you're going on stage, if you go on that way, is to overcome shyness or overcome anxiety or overcome or get through the lines versus being, which you're really good at. So it's the trusting that trusting that And again, just it's great that it's there. It could be a tool, right? It could be a reminder. Like you could file it into discernment versus judgment. Like if you don't, so it's not so black and white, right? And not so binary, and just say, listen, I hear you, but I don't need that. What I need right now is like, give me some energy, you rock, whatever you wanted to do so that you can go out there and kill it.
Yeah. I'm gonna re-listen to this for this moment.
Yeah.
I really am. I
I love it.
appreciate that. That is
Yeah.
really good.
Give it a shot, man. I think it'd be really good. And the other thing that you mentioned, you were talking about how it shows up socially,
Mhm. Yes.
and you use the word should, and I call I should I could with shame. So when we know that we can do something,
That's good.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're shoulding all over the place, we sometimes do it, but it's fueled by shame. And
Mm,
so that's
mm,
unsustainable. So I'm sure you do. I'm sure you should. You listen to should, and then you push yourself and you do it and you blah blah blah. But as soon as you lose the shame and realize that you have the capability to do this, then you step into I could do this. And then the question becomes, do I want to do this? And once you're
mm.
in I could do this, then you start going, yeah, I could totally do this. And
Yeah.
then you move to, I have this whole thing called the choice capacitor. It's funny. I was talking, I don't know if you know Noah Ricketts, but
Oh,
he said, I'm putting this in my dressing room. I could send it to you as well. But it's a
yeah.
choice capacitor, right? So
Yeah.
there, I call it energetic choice. So we go from I can't to I have to, right? Where you're really pushing through to I should, right? And then to get to the
Okay.
other side of the more conscious choice, then you lose the shame, right? And then you're in I could, and then you go to not only can I, but I want to. And when you're in I want to, it
Mm,
starts being connected to your why. Why do I want to? Because I do what I say I'm going to do, because I care about the producer, because the audience is supporting me, because whatever your whys are, you start
yeah.
connecting. And then once you're there, then it's easy to shift to the ultimate, which is I get to. And I
Mm,
get to is choice with gratitude. That's when you're doing it and you know you're doing it, and you're doing it and you're grateful for doing it.
mm.
These guys pencil out.
I'm literally like, I get to its choice with gratitude. What is he
Yeah.
talking about? It's amazing.
You can feel it,
I
right?
get, yeah, I get to. That's. I'm definitely gonna need that. That what you said to know.
You don't need it, you want it. And I
I
will
definitely did.
I will
Yeah.
definitely share it with you.
That's fair. I need it one. Okay. Okay.
You don't need anything. You don't even need to be
Yeah.
acting or singing. I mean, you don't
Mm.
need anything. These are things you've chosen that you want to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
within those choices, we have choices about how we do them. That's where the gold is. That's where the golden thread is. Then it doesn't matter what you're doing, because
Mm.
you know what I mean? Because you're really
Yeah.
connected to, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's profound. That's this is not merely a podcast. I think you're not advertising yourself as not, this is beyond podcast. What are we talking about? This is I don't know. This is amazing. This is magic. Thank
Sweet.
you. Hmm. It is a gift. What you have is definitely a gift. I've done a lot of podcasts. I've done a lot of interviews. This is not. This is something else. This is special.
Hey, what do you know will stay true about you no matter what happens?
I know that I'll always whatever happens, I'll always lead like with my heart.
Mm,
I I do I do feel that is a foundation of me that I really love about myself is that I try my best to, always lead with love and those intentions of um not harming in my choices.
yeah.
Um, I'm a middle child. I
Middle of
said
10,
I
mind you.
can right exactly.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So I got to watch a lot of look up and look down and and see what to do, what not to do, and all that, but also be the mediator
Oh,
in
interesting.
in
Yeah.
in those experiences, which I think is made me, definitely it's made me who I am. Part of what made me who I am is being in that
Yeah.
middle. I'm like, ooh, yeah, I hear you, sis, but like I think what my brother's actually trying to say, and oh no, but my brother, I think what my sister, what she's actually meaning is,
Ah,
so it's why I tick. It's the why I am the way I am. I really do. I think it made me more empathetic for sure, and like that's how I like to lead with all my choices, is
yeah.
knowing that all these people mean well. Everyone, there's no villain. There's no one out there really that's like, I want to be a bad human. I
No,
want
I
that.
agree with you. I agree with
you
you.
know? Yeah.
I agree with
Yeah.
you.
And so if you have that understanding, it's like, all right, listen a little longer,
Yeah,
and
I love that.
as yeah. And ask another question, like that. That's yeah. So I always do whatever it is. I always try to lead with my heart and lead with love.
Can you finish this phrase? Most people think Tamar Greene is, but the truth is.
I think most think Tamar has got it all together, right?
Um,
Like
yeah.
got it all together and very confident in all that, And I think um which is great. It's a nice thing for people to think, of it, but I think it is even the con of it is, something I felt even growing up with so many siblings. A lot of times people don't check on the person they think is strong,
Hmm.
you know. So that's the problem, right? Like, I'm confident with the things I'm confident in. I'm very ambitious. We talk about all these different things, but I'm also a human who's flawed and is going through stuff and all this, and people don't often. This is why, honestly, why I'm loving this even conversation so much, because you're diving in on things. People don't often dive in and check in.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I feel that. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah, yeah. Didn't expect to share that, but yeah, hey, whatever. They're fine. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I appreciate that. How do you want to be remembered?
Hmm. I want to be remembered as someone who really truly cared, right? Someone who's cared and someone who was who when you think of that person, you smile. So it left you with something. That I left you with something that made you feel good in some way.
Mm,
Um, yeah, yeah. That's that's how I feel in this moment.
mm. Mission accomplished. I can really feel your energy. I mean, you have a beautiful energy. I mean, you make me feel good.
well, well, thank you. Likewise, thank you.
You don't even need to sing. Although I've got to say, your voice is like ridiculous, but
Well, thank you.
oh, there we go. There it is.
No.
I'm shameless.
No.
Okay. So let me see. We do this thing called rapid fire. It doesn't have to be rapid.
Okay.
I'm just going to say what makes you, and I'm going to throw out a word, and you've probably heard this before. So what makes you, and you just, whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
So what makes you hungry?
um Seeing delicious things I haven't tried yet.
Mm.
And that could be food and otherwise, right? That could
Yeah,
be
there you go. And that you're not allergic to.
and then I'm not allergic to food. That's good.
Oh, that's good.
No foods, just the
Oh, thank God.
environmental stuff.
All right. What makes you sad?
Hate.
Mm. What inspires you?
Um, Friends who I see being successful.
Mm.
Yeah.
What frustrates you?
Not being heard.
Mm. What makes you laugh?
Oh, my son.
Love it. What's your son's name?
Amari Josiah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I call him AJ.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
I love it. What makes you angry?
Disrespect.
Mm. And finally, what makes you grateful?
Oh, so many things. Love, life, family. Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. So what are the top 3 things that have happened so far today?
Woke up next to a smiling baby. That's awesome. Let's see. I'm generally feeling pretty good today. Woke up pretty lighter than I have. And well, in truth, this is not be anything. Like, in truth, this conversation, truly, I mean, I wasn't expecting this. So yeah, that is
lovely. Ditto. And what's something you're looking forward to both today and then big picture?
Today, I'm looking forward to the moments I'll have with my family, with my wife and my son, before I go to work and do the thing. Looking forward to having that time. And in the future, I am looking forward to having that champagne with you next year when we're talking about
yes.
this role.
Hell yes. Oh my God, Tamar, I so appreciate you taking the time out of your busy life to be with me in the moment today. I really have enjoyed our conversation very, very much.
Yeah, me too, Lisa. I really, truly, truly have. Thank you for making me think, making me feel, and teaching me things about myself.
Thanks so much. I've been speaking today with Tamar Greene. I'm Lisa Hopkins. Thanks so much for listening. Everyone, stay safe and healthy, and remember to live in the moment. In music, stop time is that beautiful moment where the band is suspended in rhythmic unison, supporting the soloist to express their individuality. In the moment, I encourage you to take that time and create your own rhythm. Until next time, I'm Lisa Hopkins. Thanks for listening.